Hello, everybody. It is Melissa Ramos, and welcome to a deep dive and a conversation, more importantly, all on Hashimoto's flare-ups. I'm very excited to be able to offer this to you guys, and it's something that I plan to be doing a little bit more, is to launch a video on YouTube and then follow it up with a live stream thereafter. So we'll do this as much as humanly possible. But in the interim, I wanted to chat with you guys a little bit about why this happens. I think a lot of women are getting Hashimoto's flare-ups and not even realizing that it's happening to them. I think a lot of women are going undiagnosed with Hashimoto's. I know that I would have gotten undiagnosed because doctors right now are not running the kinds of tests that are required to evaluate if you have Hashimoto's. 97% of women who have hypothyroidism have Hashimoto's, and believe it or not, a lot of women end up developing hypothyroidism, especially after having a baby. So postpartum hypothyroidism is a very real thing. So I want to state that. But given that we're living in a society where like everything was due yesterday, adrenal fatigue, are you guys feeling tired? Are you feeling exhausted? Well, this is certainly something that I think a lot of women are very predisposed to getting thyroid issues because they are burnt out. Then, when you get into perimenopause, menopause, etc., because your ovaries start to cease to function, what we end up seeing here is the adrenals that have even more weight to bear. And because they have more weight to bear, guess what happens? The thyroid ends up taking up way more weight. And this is where we see so many women having thyroid issues. Now, what a Hashimoto's flare-up is the intensity of a lot of symptoms that you may be experiencing. So I'm going to kind of run through some of these because there are a lot of common triggers that happen. And, you know, when we think about some of these symptoms, we're thinking of things like dry skin. Fatigue, obviously, is a really big one. Sometimes the gut can play a huge role where, you know, if you've got some gut issues, that certainly can, exacerbate the issue. We begin to see issues like maybe sleep can worsen, maybe your weight begins to fluctuate, maybe depression becomes a lot more intense, hair falling out, even regulating your temperature can be a big challenge. Now, we have to remember that because this is an intensity of symptoms that a lot of women are experiencing, sometimes these symptoms can fluctuate between really high levels of, hypothyroidism and even hyper. We can kind of fluctuate between the two. So I'm really curious, for those of you who are watching in, do you have Hashimoto's or a thyroid condition, or at least suspect that you do? Because I know some people who watch some of my stuff don't necessarily know if they do, but they think, you know what, I suspected, I'm not entirely sure. If you have Hashimoto's or you suspect that you have a thyroid issue, please comment below and let me know if that is you. Have you ever been told that, you know, you've gone to the doctor and they said, yeah, everything looks normal, but you don't feel normal? If that's you, again, comment in the comments and let me know. I'm really curious because, again, I want this to be a dialogue and a discussion that we are having with one another, because I think it's important to be able to really open up this discussion. So let's chat a little bit about these some of the triggers that actually happen with Hashimoto's, which is essentially an autoimmune condition where the immune system begins to attack the thyroid. And there are a lot of correlations here. Now, I mentioned that obviously this is an intensity of the symptoms, but why does this happen? So one of the things that I will say that we hear a lot about in the autoimmune world is that low vitamin D levels certainly can really exacerbate autoimmune conditions. Now, I do want to touch upon this because this is kind of a yes and a no sort of answer. So Anna says she has Hashimoto's. Stephanie says, hey, Stephanie, it's great to see you here. She says, yes, I do. I'm pretty sure I'm having a flare-up now. Oh, no. And Tracy says, I have Hashimoto's. So thank you, ladies, for commenting. I'm glad we're having this discussion because I want this live stream to be just that. Michelle says, I've been diagnosed with Hashimoto's, was told to follow a paleo diet, but I'm seeing only minimal improvement in how I feel overall. True. This is only like literally it's like just the tip of the iceberg is the paleo diet. We're going to talk a little bit more about that, so stay tuned. So I work with a lot of women in Sexy Lady Balls, my hormone membership program. But we talk a lot about mineral balancing. So vitamin D, if you have very low levels of vitamin D, that absolutely can make you feel more tired. And if you live somewhere like New York, Michigan, Toronto, Vancouver, you probably have a lot of really gray months and you're not getting the sun that you require. And because of this, vitamin D levels really can drop. Now, the vitamin D that your doctor is generally testing you is the storage form. This isn't really the best measurement. If we had the storage form and the active form, that probably would be a little bit more beneficial to understand the two side by side as a comparison. But if it's at the end of winter, chances are you probably have low levels of vitamin D because you haven't had sun all season long. Now, I do want to be able to state that vitamin D, when we end up boosting vitamin D, I do believe that vitamin D is important. However, it's important to also take vitamin K. Now, you can certainly take this in supplement form. You can also get it from a lot of grass-fed meats. You can get it from grass-fed butter. So animal proteins will provide you with that necessary vitamin K that vegetables will not. You're not going to get the same form of vitamin K. Now, what vitamin K does is it's a driver. It really helps to direct vitamin D. And it's very important that you have that vitamin K, which is one of the things I'll be talking about when we talk about diet in just a moment. But if you take vitamin D alone, and I'm seeing people who are taking like 10,000 IUs of vitamin D, and the problem is vitamin D, from a mineral perspective, raises calcium levels and it lowers potassium. And what this is doing is it's really slowing down thyroid function from a mineral perspective. Now, if you told this to your medical doctor, and a lot of practitioners out there, they probably would look at you like you have like 4 heads on you, because most people aren't trained to understand mineral balancing. And this is something that we do talk about in Sexy Lady Balls, my hormone membership program. So I say this because it is so darn important that we chat about this. I'm just going to make sure that I put this link here. So I'm going to put Sexy Lady Balls hormone membership program, so you guys have a point of contact. Hormone membership program. Okay, and you guys obviously can join us here. I know this is a huge ass link, so I apologize in advance. Bologna, vitamins and leafy greens, and it's in the best form. No, that's a different form of vitamin D. So we're gonna keep this really actually a clean conversation. Otherwise, people will be removed from the comments. So I'm just saying this because vitamin D from vegetables is vitamin K1. Vitamin K2 is very different. So I'm just letting you know that. So the absorption is not the same. I'm sorry. So when we end up having higher levels of calcium and lower levels of potassium, our thyroid, if we have high levels of calcium, it's actually slowing down thyroid function. So thank you so much, Stephanie. So I'm saying this because vitamin D is important. So I'm not saying do not take vitamin D. Like, I have vitamin D that's in my fish oil, but I know that I also consume animal products that do have that vitamin K that is bioavailable to the system. Yes, you have vitamin K from green leafy vegetables, but it's not the same form. The bioavailability is what we have to look at. So when people are saying to me, well, there's vitamin K in vegetables, sure, but is it the same bioavailability as you're getting from more bioavailability that you're getting from animal products? And the form of the vitamin K is not the same. So vitamin K is very different. Yes, you can supplement 1,000%. That would be a good thing to do, to get just vitamin K on its own. Not a bad thing at all, but that certainly is one of the triggers for Hashimoto's flare-ups. The other one is low selenium levels. Now, low selenium is a pretty big thing because selenium and iodine really do balance each other out. So if you have, excess selenium, you can have selenium toxicity. But the thing is if you're intaking any levels of iodine, which I don't suggest for any of you guys to go and purchase and start taking iodine, like Lugol's iodine. Lugol's iodine, just so you know, if you start taking iodine without a qualified practitioner who can actually give you an iodine cofactor protocol, which is about a 3-week protocol that you take before even taking any form of iodine. I don't believe in taking the Lugol's form of iodine because your body can't eliminate what it doesn't need. So what happens, what we see is women are trying to get Hashimoto's flare-ups as a result, and this isn't good. Their thyroid can begin to swell, their nodules can increase in size and quantity. So you got to be really careful. But selenium really helps to balance out iodine levels. Very important. It's an antioxidant. It prevents thyroid damage and inflammation. Remember, then we're looking at thyroid health and flare-ups. The inflammatory response is such a huge thing to remember. Your body needs selenium to be able to convert T4, which is the inactive thyroid hormone, to T3, your active thyroid hormone. So research actually showed that taking about 200 micrograms of selenium actually helps to reduce thyroid peroxidase antibodies levels by almost half. Now, here's the thing I just want to be able to say. One of the things that I really love, because we do offer this in Sexy Lady Balls, my hormone membership program. I put the link in there as well. We would love to have you join us, but we do something called hair trace mineral analysis testing. And hair trace mineral analysis testing is great because it also shows us selenium status in the body. Like, I remember one time I tested and it showed that I had excess selenium. That's pretty interesting because I wasn't even supplementing. So clearly, based on what I'm eating, which are, I guess I was just eating too many selenium-rich foods, it was driving up that selenium. And at that time, I remember I was taking selenium on top of it. So just the whole thing together was like the perfect storm. Wasn't a good idea. And selenium toxicity can actually create your hair to fall out. It's not the most common reason why people's hair begins to fall out, but it's a part of it. So I will say that selenium is absolutely important. Most people are incredibly, who have, thyroid issues are deficient in selenium. It's not a bad idea. One of the things, if I were to work with any of you guys, I would absolutely suggest Sexy Lady Balls is a great hormone membership program that I've developed. Stephanie, who's one of the people listening in here, is a member. And as you can see, she puts a phenomenal program in the comments there. But upgrading to get an HTMA, which is a hair trace mineral analysis, is really important because your minerals are the foundation of you. So think of like when you're building a home. If you don't have a foundation of your home, it's just going to fall apart, right? So this is something I just wanted to mention because minerals are the foundation. If you don't have proper mineral balance, what you're going to end up discovering is that your adrenal fatigue you're never going to get a handle on it. Your thyroid issues are always going to be an issue there. If you've got too much calcium and low potassium, it's called a calcium shell. Interestingly enough, when there's a calcium shell, oftentimes these high levels of calcium develop because of trauma. And don't even think of trauma just as in rape or physical abuse. Trauma can be emotional abuse, where we develop the shell. Think of like an egg, right? You've got the shell of an egg, and it protects the yolk inside of it. So when you have this shell that's protecting you, this is what it's doing. So we have to break down that shell. Now, this is the reason why in the work that I do with women, we talk a lot about mindset and the emotions, because if you are not working on this stuff, as you start working on your hormonal health, you are going to experience some level of emotional breakdown. Some level. It may not be as intense as I might make it sound, but it's a big part of it. So when women come in, they go, I have a Hashimoto's flare-up. I want to understand a little bit more about what's going on. So certainly there can be a lot of nutrient deficiencies that are happening, but long-term stress is a huge part of it. So during periods of high or even intermediate stress, there are your hormones, and you're pumping adrenaline and cortisol. Cortisol is the hormone released in response to stress, and this activates the immune system. This can lead to really bad sleep quality. It can lead to you binge eating or even changing your appetite in general. And it can make people prone to gaining weight, and it can also lead to chronic inflammation. So 8 out of 10 people with different autoimmune conditions reported experiencing emotional stress before flare-ups, okay? Which really does increase as we get older. So your body's ability to cope actually is reduced as you get older. Why is this? Well, remember earlier, and for those of you guys who are just tuning in, hey, everybody who's tuning in, make sure that you post below if you've ever experienced a Hashimoto's flare-up, or if you've got Hashimoto's or have been diagnosed with thyroid issues, or, if you suspect it. Comment below. This is a discussion, guys. We're here to chat. So the thing that I want to be able to say when it comes to stress, that I think a lot of people just aren't equating to getting older especially, is remember, as you get older, your ovaries start to cease to function. Now, your ovaries are a part of your entire hormonal system, which, think of it like a symphony. Okay? You got a symphony? If some of the players are out, it's not sounding the same. It's going to sound out of tune. And some of the other bandmates in the symphony are going to have to do more work. So your hormones are no different, okay? So when your ovaries cease to function, your adrenals have more work to do. So when you're in perimenopause, when you're in menopause, these are the women who are going to start to feel like their ability to handle stress is so much different than it was when they were younger. It feels so much harder. But this is the reason why that you have to make a conscious decision. Am I going to live the same way that I did up until this point, or am I going to start to change things? You have to change things, because what you could get away with before ain't the same when you're in perimenopause or when you're in menopause, truth be told. So this is the reason why that especially with Hashimoto's, you have to really think about, are you somebody who has a ton of stress? Now, you might think, well, you have no idea, Melissa. I have so much stress going on. True. But it's not that one stress is worse than the other. It's about how someone's handling the stress. Do you have good boundaries? Are you codependent? So are you sacrificing? Who are you sacrificing yourself for? Who are you enabling in your life? Are you enabling your partner because they snore like an elephant beside you every night? My husband snored, and we changed up some pillows and found something that works where he doesn't snore. But eventually, if it got so bad, we would have to sleep in separate rooms, because I'm like, I can't sacrifice my health to enable this, because he's going to be upset if I don't sleep beside him. Or are you sacrificing yourself to stay up late to watch TV because you're trying to keep your partner company? Are you sacrificing yourself to, for your work? Oftentimes when we're codependent, we're doing this to validate our sense of self-worth. This is a really, really, really big thing. So I want to say this because the way that you show up into life really dictates everything. And stress is a huge, huge part of the Hashimoto's entire profile. Also, from a food perspective, various foods that you could be sensitive to absolutely could be flaring this up. Now, I've said this before, but you should not. I don't even care if it's once in a while. Gluten, take out the gluten. You should not be having the gluten because with Hashimoto's, it is an autoimmune condition. An autoimmune condition is rooted in the gut. Okay? There are many things that affect the gut. Many things that change the gut's microbiome. Mold can change the structure of your microbiome. Stress, mental stress can change your microbiome, but so can food. So with autoimmune patients oftentimes have a lot of different food sensitivities, but gluten needs to be out. This is not a every now and then kind of thing. It needs to be out. Even dairy, because there's something called molecular mimicry. So what happens is when we eat dairy, when we eat gluten, sometimes the immune system gets confused and begins to attack the thyroid gland instead. So food sensitivities, are a really big thing. For me, I done the food sensitivity panel a while ago, and I had noticed I was intolerant to a ton of different foods. And the cool thing that I will say is that in Sexy Lady Balls, you have access at any point of the membership if you ever want to upgrade and get testing, or if you have questions about it and try to figure out what's right for you. We have those answers for you, which is amazing. Rebecca says, do you think corticosteroids can cause a flare-up? It can, in the sense that, so when you're taking corticosteroids, the problem with that is that it's really affecting your adrenal glands on a really, really, really big level. So can it affect it? Yeah, it absolutely can. Believe it or not, ladies, even antihistamines, we think it's such a benign medication. I know a lot of people depend on it because their allergies are horrible. But when you're taking antihistamines, Flonase, the nasal allergy spray, those things actually affect your adrenals. And the more we affect the adrenals, the more that we're affecting the thyroid. So we have to see this as the overall picture. But diet, nutrition is, and I'm not saying go diet, I'm just saying a nutrition, an eating plan that is filled with processed, prepackaged foods, high in refined sugar, really bad fats. These are things that can trigger autoimmune flare-ups. So if you start to go and binge all of a sudden, what do you expect? You're going to end up having a flare-up. So this is something I would say, and even if it's a gluten-free donut, ladies, it's still a donut. It's still a donut. And remember that these foods, especially high carb, high sugar, what we end up seeing is that this is going to affect the bacterial balance in your gut, also known as your microbiome. The more that the harmful bacteria increases, it begins to really eat away and destroy that gut barrier, and that even promotes more of a leaky gut, of which every single one of you has if you have Hashimoto's. So I will share that when I went and I got tested recently, about 2 weeks ago, I tested my thyroid. I have been off my thyroid medications. I was on 120 milligrams of desiccated thyroid hormone. And I started to get what I thought was flare-ups. And what it wasn't, the last one I had was not a flare-up. It's that I was over-medicated. Because clearly I'm healing and the amount that I was on was too much. So I don't suggest any of you guys to just stop taking your medications at all. At all. I am off my medications, but I'm testing my thyroid every month. I'm not saying I'm not going back on meds, but at this moment in time, it looks like my thyroid is great. I'm off meds. I am functioning fine. I don't have debilitating fatigue. My hair isn't falling out. I'm not gaining weight rapidly. I feel fine, which is amazing. But all of these things are happening based on the fact that I am doing the work. And this is all stuff that I talk about in Sexy Lady Balls. It's not just one thing. If you guys are looking for the one thing, the one supplement, the one diet that's going to fix it, paleo alone is not going to fix it. Ketogenic alone is not going to fix it. You have to look at the overall picture. What is going on with the gut? What is going on with the diet? How is the stress really mismanaged? And this feels super overwhelming to you You're not supposed to, feel like I'm supposed to know it all. You're supposed to have support. And the reality is the majority of you guys aren't actually getting the support that you need or require. Most of you guys are trying to go at it alone, and you're supporting everyone else in your life except for yourselves. And it's part and parcel why you're in this situation to begin with. The other thing I want to be able to share with you with Hashimoto's attacks is your menstrual cycle. So around your period, you may notice that your immune system kind of starts to get a little bit low. You start to feel kind of tired. Maybe you feel like you're getting sick. Well, this is when prostaglandins, when you have to all of a sudden you feel like a lot of inflammation is coming up, is very possible around your menstrual cycle. So a lot of autoimmune diseases, believe it or not, begin to appear either around puberty for some people, like as young as puberty, and even as late as menopause. Okay, so hormonal changes can impact the immune system and trigger a flare-up. So around your period, this is when you may experience a flare-up. So there's a hormone called estrogen. I'm sure many of you guys have heard of it. It's more present during your menstrual cycle, which is the follicular phase. So when you're bleeding, so not when you spot, but when you bleed, and that estrogen is more predominant around this follicular phase, 10 days to about 2 weeks after your period. And this can cause flare-ups. So a lot of women think like, why do I feel so crappy around my period? Why do I feel like I have so much inflammation? Why do I feel like I'm getting sick? There is a correlation between your menstrual cycle and flare-ups, absolutely. Question here says, recently I found out I have nodules and the specialist said that they're small but still need to go through biopsy. It doesn't make sense to me. So nodules, at around the 10 millimeter mark, I will do a whole live stream on nodules. I actually have nodules as well. I had 6 nodules. 2 of the nodules are, last that I checked, which was 6 months ago, 2 of the nodules were gone, and I'm actually due to do another ultrasound tomorrow. I have one that's 9 millimeters. At 10 is when they want to biopsy them. So we'll see if that one grew 1 millimeter. But I've been doing so much work, and my thyroid blood panel is so promising. I'm hoping that's not the case, but we'll see. Another thing, we talked about stress before, insufficient sleep. Ladies, it's free. It's free. Go get your sleep. If you are not getting your sleep, your immune system is going to take a hit. So when you are getting a recurring pattern of like no sleep, you are going to experience a flare-up. So this is something that is going to really mess with the pattern of how your brain regulates sleep, which can lead to even more sleeping patterns. So the more that you have shitty sleep because you're on social media or because you're watching, TV until super late, you're essentially programming a routine into your body that will lead to more sleep patterns. So this is going to change how your brain regulates sleep, but it's not like it's irreversible. You absolutely can end up getting proper sleep, but you have to change those patterns and you have to change those routines, and you have to end up really considering, how am I structuring my evening? What is my ideal, thoughts of an evening routine? For me, with an evening routine, I'm a really big fan of breath work. I shout this book off the top of my lungs, but I'm a huge fan of The Presence Process. It's a book from Michael Brown. He's amazing. So I do 15 minutes of breath work in the evening and in the morning. I may read a little bit. I put some essential oils to diffuse, which I'm really a huge fan of. And I really try to make the space and create that space for me. And I get off my devices 90 minutes prior to bed. Because even if you have, blue blocker glasses, which I'll show you the ones that I have. So these are the ones that I have. Ooh, they're totally dirty. These are great. But the problem with blue blocker glasses is that if you are still attached to your device like this, that electromagnetic frequency is still creating a level of stress. Electromagnetic frequency does increase your cortisol levels. Okay, this is proven. It lowers your progesterone. Progesterone's your feel-good hormone, right? And progesterone, if it's lowered, is going to impact your thyroid. Why? Because you need progesterone as an anchor to anchor estrogen. Otherwise, estrogen is going to be really high. High estrogen levels, guess what happens? You impede that conversion of T4, your inactive thyroid hormone, to T3, your active thyroid hormone. So you really want to make sure that you have that progesterone to give that balance with estrogen. Otherwise, your hormones are going to be affected. So when women are messaging me and saying, oh my God, so, I heard that your thyroid antibodies are lower than they've ever been, that you're off medications now, Melissa, that you're not feeling tired. What did you do? What supplement did you take? And the thing I would say to them is like, A, it took time. B, it took it took me changing my lifestyle. It took being very diligent with my diet so that I wasn't like eating gluten every now and then. There were a lot of things that I had to identify, but you cannot complain about the results you're not getting from the work you're not doing. You have to see it as an overall picture. Anne says, I have Hashi, did not do well on meds, did well on keto IF, which is intermittent fasting, but lost half of my hair. Docs seem unable to offer any solutions. Thanks for this information. It's my pleasure. So when we're losing our hair, we have to get proper blood work done. And I will tell you, ladies, with Hashimoto's, whether you're getting flare-ups or not, you need to get proper blood work. One of the things that I pride myself on is I like to pride myself on getting women answers. This is the reason why I created Sexy Lady Balls, because whether you are in the United States, whether you are in Canada, whether you are in the UK, whether you're even in Australia, I have actually found resources on where you can get proper full blood work. One day, I'm going to do a live stream, probably soon, I should say, and I'm going to take you guys through a blood chemistry analysis. What this is a report that we generate based on your blood work in Sexy Lady Balls. Like, you can upgrade to get this because it's a consult that you get with one of my practitioners, and they show you patterns. So for example, when you're getting a Hashimoto's flare-up or you have Hashimoto's and your hair is falling out, I know what that feels like. I had a flare-up once where my hair was falling out so bad, I was blow drying my hair. There was hair on the walls. Not on the floor, on the walls from blow drying. That's how disturbing it was. I didn't even want to wash my hair because I was scared, because that's how much hair was falling out. I had to do a blood chemistry because we have to look at patterns. One marker on your panel is not going to be able to show us what is going on, even with your thyroid. I want to look at your liver enzymes. I want to look at your iron, your ferritin levels. I want to see your lipid panel, like your cholesterol. All of these things matter. It's not just your thyroid blood work. I mean, that's obviously really important, and a lot of those things your doctor isn't testing you for, but we need to see the pattern overall is incredibly important. Which also brings me to another part that can flare up Hashimoto's. Bacterial or viral infections are huge. This is a very common trigger for a lot of people who have Hashimoto's. And truthfully, if, this happens because the viruses infect your throat, or they invade your intestines and your thyroid as well, and it can create an inflamed thyroid. So say, for example, you went traveling and you came back and you found out that you had Giardia. Now, Giardia is a common common parasitic infection. It's one of the big bad three. One of them is like Entamoeba histolica. The other one's Cryptosporidium, and then there's Giardia. These are the three big bad, parasites. There's other ones, but let's just talk about this one. Let's just say if you have Giardia, guess what? That's going to trigger a lot of gut reactions, and that also is going to create swelling of the thyroid. So triggers of flare-ups can occur in combination. So for example, you have bad sleep, you've been eating really poorly, you have a lot of consumption with alcohol for a while. This can contribute to a flare-up. So remember when someone says, like I remember I had a gluten-free butter tart. Now, if you're not in Canada, you will have no idea what a butter tart is, but it's a Canadian treat, okay? They're very good. I had a gluten-free one. And I was like, yeah, gluten-free, sure, I'll have that. And Hashimoto's flare up. And silly me starts to think, it's the gluten-free butter tart that did it. No, girl, it's not the gluten-free butter tart that just did it. Think about the overall picture. What else was happening that actually created the flare-up? I wasn't getting enough sleep. I was working myself to the bone. It's never just one thing. Even your Hashimoto's, every single one of you here showed up here for a reason. And I can tell you right now, the issues that you are facing, it's not one thing that did it. Maybe one thing was the straw that broke the camel's back, but not one thing did it. So if you want to be able to really avoid having flare-ups, you have to look at the overall picture. What else is going on that is contributing to those issues? We have to see everything in tandem. So I would highly suggest for you guys, if you have not, please make sure that you check out Sexy Lady Balls, my hormone membership program. I have posted it in the link. It's just above there. I will post it one more time here for you guys so you have it. But it is a great hormone membership program. It's a very low fee. It's like $57 a month. And it is truly a game changer for so many women. And like I said, if you want access to any testing, you can upgrade at any time and see one of our practitioners who can walk you through your test results, give you a protocol. And yes, we ship testing all throughout the world. I've shipped it to Australia, to the UK, to various different parts. So it's definitely possible. So again, I know somebody's writing iodine. Please do not take iodine without a qualified practitioner. Even Dr. Brownstein, who's being cited here in the comments, even says in his book, do not take iodine unless you are working with a qualified practitioner. You have to balance the minerals. When you take iodine, iodine detoxes. Iodine also detoxes 16-OHE1, which is an estrogen metabolite. Iodine also detoxes the gut. The problem is you are going to get die-off. It also requires the body strength to detox. So you start giving somebody 13.5 milligrams of iodine a day, or Lugol's, which is what Dr. Brownstein recommends, a form of iodine which isn't safely eliminated from the body. It's a form of iodine that the body can't eliminate what it doesn't need. You're going to get thyroid swelling, and you're going to end up seeing that your nodules are going to increase. Do not take iodine unless you are working with a qualified practitioner. I think the majority of our population is iodine deficient, but the form of iodine matters. The cofactors for 3 weeks prior to that, and which ones matter, and your minerals need to be at some level of balance before introducing iodine. This is absolutely fucking crucial, or you will feel like shit. I'm so glad I found you. I just learned about you today. You're so funny. Love your energy. Thank you very much. And I'm so glad that you are here. If you guys haven't done so yet, please make sure you give this video a thumbs up. Please make sure that you subscribe to my YouTube channel. There's also a little bell at the very top right-hand corner of the screen. You can click it so that you get notified every single time that I am live or that I post a video. I'm here to answer any of your questions. This is where I love to live, here and also on Instagram. But please, guys, take a look at Sexy Lady Balls. Join us. I would love to have the opportunity to work with you. And if you guys have any questions whatsoever, drop them in the comments below. I'd love to be able to hear from you, and we'll go from there. All right. Thank you to everyone who has come today to have this deep dive discussion about Hashimoto's, flare-ups, all those triggers, and things that you can do about it. All right, guys, take care and have yourselves a wonderful evening.